Hello, I'm Drew Pickens, and in this video, we are going to be discussing the concept of buying states and understanding what it means for a customer to be in a certain buying state or state of mind. And the idea of buying states refers to the state of mind that a person can be in from the standpoint of thinking about a need to change or make a purchase. Now, this can be understood by observing behaviors, things they say, the way they respond to you when you call them, or maybe come into their office to make a sales call. It helps a salesperson develop a strategy to get the customer's attention and meet them where they are in their mentality or their state of mind. So it's very important to be prepared and to be ready to address any buying state that you might come across. And we're going to look at four distinct buying states in this video. The first one is the most common one that you'd run into, and this is the idea of a status quo buying state. Now, research shows that you would run into this about 80% of the time should you do some cold calling, some prospecting, something like that. 8 out of 10 times you will come across somebody that their mindset is status quo. Everything is okay. I wasn't thinking about you before you called. I probably won't think about you after we hang up the phone. Everything's perfectly fine. No real need to change. There's much more important things to worry about than this. And we've seen this probably 1,000 times. We've been in sales any more than a couple months. So how should we handle somebody in a status quo buying state? Well, the good news is if you were to go out and do some prospecting, you know that there's probably about an 80% chance that this is what I'll run into. So I should be prepared for it. So have a purpose statement ready to go, very well planned, very well structured, nice and tight, rehearsed. And that purpose statement should have an attention getter built into it so that you can wake them up and get them out of this buying state into something more favorable. A big mistake that a lot of salespeople make is they try to sell to this buying state, and it's almost impossible. You've got to get them out of this buying state. You've got to get them into something else. There are other states you're going to look at that are much more favorable where the customer's actually open. So your number one objective when you go out to prospect is you're likely to run into a status quo. So have a plan to get them out of this state of mind. We do that through good purpose statements. We do that through attention getters into a more favorable state of mind. The next state we're going to look at is the arrogant buying state. Now, research shows on this, you're probably going to run into this 5 to 10% of the time. We've all seen this. This is the very arrogant buyer. This is the person that, the world's best salesperson or best business person, right? Very proud of the deal they have, very happy with their competitor, very loyal, very, very happy with the choices they make in business. You couldn't sell them anything. You couldn't talk them out of anything. You couldn't change their mind, right? We've seen this person before. So how do you handle this? Well, the recommendation is that you respect their decision, respect their position, but leave your information, disengage. There's much bigger, more fish in the ocean out there to go after than waste your time banging your head against this, right? Don't be so proud as to waste too much time with this. But keep in mind, they're liable to change, and they have to change themselves. They have to bring themselves on their own to realize that they should change something. So, the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. When these guys fall from being arrogant, they usually go to something much, much better. So let them go, leave your information, maybe keep in light contact with them, but don't waste a lot of time on this state, disengage. But you'll know when you see it. The much better state and where arrogant can get to is the urgent state. Sometimes the most arrogant buyers, when things go wrong, they go really wrong and they get into an urgent state. So this urgent state, you're going to run into 5 to 10% as well. This is the person that's in a very dire situation, right? You can help them right away. Things are really bad. Now, they're in a big hurry to get set up. They're in a big hurry to get going with your service. Their house is on fire and you have the fire hose. I'm so glad you called. Where have you been all my life? This type of mindset. And we've probably seen this too. And it looks really, really good from a sales standpoint, right? To run into an urgent state buyer. But we would give you a word of caution. Be a little careful, slow them down just a little bit to make sure this is someone you can do business with. Make sure this is someone that hasn't been fired from their previous supplier for not paying their bill, or maybe some bad business practice, or maybe they're trying to do some business thing that you can't legally do, or something like that. So just be a little cautious, be a little careful. It's good to slow them down just a little bit to make sure everything's above ground and everything's good. And if it is, then obviously go forward, solve the problem, move ahead. You want to make sure you lock this customer down so they are a long-term customer, not just fixing this problem and then they go back to where they were before. So urgent state is really good to sell to. Just be a little cautious and, proceed with caution, make sure everything's okay. And then the fourth one is the growth future state. This is the best one, but the problem is you're going to see this about 5 to 10% of the time. But if you can get somebody into a growth future state, this is really good. This is the person that, things are okay right now, but I'm very open to doing things better. I'm very open to talking about better ways to do things. I'm very open to talking about a better state, better future for my business. I want to look for ways to improve. I'm very open to new ideas, right? This is a salesperson's dream here, to run into a growth future, but you only see them about 5, 8, 10% of the time. So your goal is to get someone from a status quo state into this future state. You do that by having good insights in place, good attention getters, things that wake them up. So be ready with some good questions, get the conversation going, have some insights in your hip pocket, ready to use when the time's right. Focus on their business goals and objectives, what's working, what's not working, where are they trying to go, what's in the way, all of that. When you got a growth future person, this is someone that wants to go down the highway. Let's help them get down that road. So we want to keep that going. But this is the goal you're trying to get anyone into, especially when you run into that status quo buying state. You can do a lot with someone in a growth future state. So in summary, just think about the state of mind that someone could be in when you reach out to them, and whatever you're seeing is a reflection probably of one of these 4 states. You can understand it by observing behaviors, listening to what they're saying, how they respond to you, whether they're open or not. If they're not open, then you need to have a way to get them to an open state by waking them up, by giving them something of interest, something they didn't know, maybe a referral, something like that. And this helps you develop a strategy to get the customer's attention and meet them where they are mentally. So be prepared for any state you could run into. Be equipped for one of these 4. You should not be caught off guard. You should be expecting one of these 4. Have something in place to get it done. And I know you'll be successful. So good luck to selling to all the buying states.